Hello, my name is Marlene Cameron, and in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Sydney Banks' Enlightenment experience, the Three Principles Global Community has invited individuals who have been impacted by the Three Principles understanding to share their insights and stories of transformation. And my guest today is Dr. Jack Pransky. Dr. Pransky has been teaching the principles for some 30 years now. He's written 10 books, 9 of which are about the principles. And he tells me that in spite of his intentions to retire, he's not doing that anytime soon. So welcome, Dr. Pransky.
Thank you, Marlene.
I'm going to ask a series of questions and just go ahead and answer them. And when you're complete, I'll ask you the next question. So the first one is, could you briefly share what your life looked like before you had your first insight into the three principles?
Well, it's interesting because I'm not one of those people who had a very difficult life. I had a nice life, and I was very productive in the field of prevention. I got a lot done, but I was always doing it with a lot of stress. And it was like I was driven. And I also realized recently that I carried with me a lot of anger and frustration. And I'll give you a good example. Like yesterday, snow fell for the first time where I am in Western Massachusetts here. And I got all excited because I have my cross country skis with me. So I go out, and 5 minutes into my ski, I'm realizing that it's more like snowshoeing because all of the snow is stuck to the bottom of my ski. And in the old days, I would have gotten really frustrated about that. And probably, well, I don't know whether I would have gone back or not, but it would have been, I would have taken the whole thing in frustration. And I'll tell you afterwards what I did this time now.
So you said you didn't have a well, I shouldn't put words into your mouth. So what was your insight?
Well, I had three really huge insights um, along the way. My first one was with an actual personal encounter with Sid Banks that blew my mind apart. And I didn't have any words to describe it. I mean, it was almost like I was transported into another realm. I wrote this up in one of my books, Seduced by Consciousness. I won't go into it. But what happened to me was that I, I realized, and like I said, I didn't have words for this at the time. I just felt out of it. I felt disoriented. But it was like I realized that everything about the way that I had been seeing life was wrong, was backwards. Like I had been seeing, just like most everybody else in the world, I had been seeing that life operates from the outside in. And to just see that life really operated from the inside out was such a wrench for me that I didn't even know what to make of it. I just knew that the only thing I knew was that Sid knew that he was speaking truth. And that's all I knew. But it was something that affected me for the rest of my life. I was never the same after that. The second insight I had was that, and this never ceases to amaze me. I still haven't totally grasped this myself, but it's like all of what we call our problems and all of what we call our emotions are all total illusions. And what that really means is they don't exist. They do not exist except for the fact that we have made them up with this incredible creative gift of the power of thought. And then consciousness comes along and makes them look absolutely real. So we would swear to the fact that they're absolutely real. But the thing that really gets to me is they don't exist. They really don't exist. Now, every place where I have my blind spots, they exist. Or every time I forget, they exist, but they only exist in my own mind as I have made them up. I mean, that's like shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. And the third insight that I had when I was walking on the beach one day, it came to what the three principles are all about came to me in a flash. That all we are is peace, love, and wisdom, and the power to create the illusion that we're not. So the essence of ourself is peace, love, and wisdom. This is who we are. This is who we are. And the only way we can have the illusion that we're not that is basically by doing what my second insight was. You know, by thinking ourselves away from it inadvertently, by thinking that we're not it, that we're not that, but we are that. And even if we think we're not that, we are that. And so those those three insights in combination for me uh, changed the course of my life so much that I will never be the same.
Well, that's interesting you should say that because the next question is how has your life changed and your practice changed since gaining this new understanding?
Well, you know, if you think that your life is kind of like affected by, or I don't know if that's the right word. Well, let's say affected by the outside world. Like you're at the mercy, that's the word I want. You're at the mercy of what happens to you in the outside world, the mercy of your circumstances, the mercy of the situations you find yourself in, you know, the mercy of what other people say to you and do to you. You know, if you really think that, then to have your head turned around, whoa, it's not that. All of a sudden, life looks so much more easy. So my life got so much more easy. It got so much less stressed. And the anger that I was and frustration that I was living with um, really dissipated, except where I bump into my blind spots. Now, so I'll go back to my skiing thing that I was talking about before. So I'm out there in the woods and I'm wanting to ski, and I can't ski because it's more like snowshoeing. It's trudging along. And all of a sudden I realized, what's wrong with snowshoeing? It's beautiful out here. It's gorgeous. I'm in this beautiful woods. I am seeing the sparkles on the snow, which is my favorite. And I just decided I am snowshoeing out here in the woods with skis on, loving every second of it. And that, in a nutshell, is the big difference between my life then and my life now.
Hmm. That's a big difference, isn't it?
It really is a big difference.
What about your practice? Working with your clients, with your students.
Well, the interesting thing is that I was never a counselor before. I was never a coach before. I don't even think the world of coaching existed when I first came into this anyway. I was involved in prevention. And so prevention of problem behaviors, all kinds of problem behaviors. But I was doing that from the outside in. And it wasn't until I bumped into Dr. Roger Mills that I really saw the potential for doing prevention from the inside out, which changed everything. And then I realized as I was doing these trainings in the inside out approach, we called it many names, but now it's the three principles. Um, I would say that I just lost my train of thought. That's what I would say. What did you just ask me?
Well, how it changed your practice
Oh,
and
it changed my
how
practice.
you're
Right.
working with, yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm doing these trainings and people come up to me afterwards and they ask me for individual assistance. And all of a sudden I'm finding that I really like doing this individual assistance. So then I decided, well, I may as well try it. Didn't know what I was doing, but I tried it. And so now I mean, I'm retired officially, but I do a lot of coaching of people and I run mentoring groups and it has completely turned my head around about the way that I do business completely. And
So
I've
that
been much more successful.
Nice. So that leads into our the next question. How do you see this understanding changing the field of mental health and essentially our understanding of what we call the human spirit?
I was reflecting on this yesterday when I was out in the woods. I was thinking, how many years has the field of psychology even existed? Was like, let's say, 200 years? I mean, I have no idea, but not that long. And when you stop and think about how long human beings have been in the world compared to how long the field of psychology has been in existence, it's a tremendously new field. I mean, it acts like it's been around for a really long time, but it hasn't. And it's still learning about itself all the time. And unfortunately, I would say that because all of these graduate schools in psychology have functioned from the outside in, it's now very difficult for the field to um, be open to the inside out because it's essentially saying what you're doing is like what I felt at the time. What you're doing is backwards. And that's a very, very difficult thing to grasp. However, if I had to predict, and it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but if I had to predict, it will take over the field of psychology at some point way down the road in the future. And the reason I say that is because there's something about the three principles that gets under people's skin and it really changes them. And they, like myself, find it hard to see life the same way anymore. And eventually, the field of psychology is, and all of mental health is going to catch up to this. It's just going to take a while longer. Sid Banks predicted that it would, and I believe that he is right. In fact, I have great faith that he is right. Wish I was able to be around to see it, but I've done my part.
Well, you certainly have. All these years you've been teaching the principles and writing about the principles. You've done your part. That's a beautiful legacy.
It's a little part, but as part of the tremendous whole that we are as a three principles community, um, which it keeps spreading one person at a time, and it can't stop. It cannot stop because people just want to give it away, what they have seen for themselves that helped them so much. And that's why it can't stop. And that's why it will take over someday.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're entirely welcome.
Yeah,
My
lovely
pleasure.
to share your insight and your perspective and your vision for the three principles understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene.